explaining my career to you, in 2002, that was game changing for the world. Taking security first with coding, development, software development. So a big boom. Being a woman in IT, I've had titles as CIOs in insurance, CTOs, CISOs. I've had security under my mandate for a very long time, over 20 years.
Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, my friends. You know what time it is. It is time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. E is in the house. And as we've been doing, we've been bringing on guests, thought leaders to help give you insight into what's happening and what's occurring in the world of a CISO. And I tell you, I am so excited for this episode because Mary is truly the OG when it comes to being a CISO, understanding what it means, diversity, breaking the barriers. And I am just so excited to have her on the show. So Mary, I know that didn't give any justice to your background. Can you just give the audience a little bit about your history and how you got into security?
Yeah, sure. So I'll take you back. Penn State. I'm teaching at Penn State right now. I love my school. But I did graduate from Penn State undergrad, and I learned technology there. And what I remember most about Penn State and working with professors and getting paid to help them do research was there was no security. Nobody talked about it. It was 1988, so it kind of dates me. And as I moved through my career, joining as a consultant, working for very complex, large companies, again, security wasn't at the forefront. It wasn't, I think, until between me understanding technology and then moving into corporate America. In 2002, Bill Gates came out and to the whole world with this huge memo. And many companies were getting breached with the operating system that Microsoft was pushing out. So it was around January 2002. I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, wow, this is going to be the next boom. It's going to be security because there was no standards, there was no frameworks, there was no huge software companies out there. There wasn't 24/7 SOCs, right? There wasn't all this patching going on. So I think when I'm explaining my career to you, in 2002, that was game changing for the world. Taking security first with coding, development, software development. So a big boom. Being a woman in IT, I've had titles as CIOs in insurance, CTOs, CISOs. I've had security under my mandate for a very long time, over 20 years. Recently moving more towards just focusing on cybersecurity as how I want to end my career and teaching it. So I'm at Penn State teaching. I'm doing strategic consulting for a healthcare company around cybersecurity, and I'll be joining a new company March 9th, just specifically to artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. So that's me.
Now, I'm glad you said that because it's like functionality leads and then security follows. And you think we would have learned our lesson with the internet, but we didn't because AI, here we go again, right? Where we're rolling out AI without the security. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But one thing is really just more of a personal question that I want to ask you. I have three wonderful kids, but my youngest daughter is a junior at Purdue in cybersecurity. And she sort of has 1 year left and looking to get into the field. What advice would you give to her in terms of sort of how to break into the field, get a job? Because you know it's that first job, it's hard, it's difficult, and all those factors. What advice would you give to her or things that she should start working on today to be able to break in and get into cybersecurity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have been helping students for a long time get internships. So I would say start early. If you don't have an internship, As hard as this is about to say, you have to take classes and work. To get a job, once you graduate with a cybersecurity degree, companies are still going to look for, what did you learn? Do you have a certification? So my advice is to start as early as you can, even part-time, working for a company so you understand the mechanics of cybersecurity. And we could talk about what cybersecurity means. It's very broad, right? There's the operations side of it, there's the compliance, risk, and then all the other towers: patching, vulnerability management, dark web monitoring, surface monitoring, artificial intelligence. So get an internship and now push yourself to learn artificial intelligence. Everything is changing. Software, the tools we use, and how we combat AI, right? With AI is what's happening right now. So you need AI as a defense inside your company, and so I would double time it as well. What I would tell her with that advice.
That's great advice. And one thing I love your opinion on, because I struggle with this, is a lot of colleges, and I don't know why they're doing this, are telling students they can't use AI. Like if you use AI, we're going to fail you. You're going to flunk out and this and that. But I'm like, if you graduate and you don't know AI, how are you going to be successful? So I'm sort of in this thing where I'm telling my kids, like, you should be using AI for research, for papers, for testing. But in doing that, it could get them thrown out of college. So I'm sort of like in this dilemma. So like, how do you view that world and navigate that space? Because to me, it's bizarre. Like, I think colleges should be embracing AI, but instead they're sort of fighting it and acting like it's going to go away. And we know it's not going away.
Yeah, so I teach a higher level course right now at Penn State. It's malware analysis. And so I'm teaching them how to set up a virtual machine, how to put fake malware using GitHub, right, all safe, but showing them technically how cybersecurity professionals will look at email that's contained with phishing, malware, ransomware, and really showing them how you analyze it, right? So you need to know where it's coming from, what ransomware group is a target now for your company, right? And so I enforce using AI because we're coding. And it's one of the best things to use to ask questions and, get quick responses. I think every university is going to treat it differently. I think in the last year, universities have shifted because technology is shifting us. You can't wait anymore, right? It's going to be in everything we use: our operating systems, our phones, our devices. If you're in the profession, you're using it with your partners, right? So it's shifting fast. I could tell you a year ago, it was a different message. This year, it's becoming much more part of the university experience to use artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's what I tell everyone, whether you're a college student or you're 40, if you're applying for a job and AI is not on your CV at least 10 times, you're not going to get the job, right? Because it's like that's what they're looking for. I get so frustrated when you hear people, oh, AI is going to replace humans. No, it's not. Yeah. It's a tool to empower us. It's only going to replace us if we allow it to. Yeah. So I guess sort of, can you talk sort of a little bit about your thoughts on that? Because I know with me, when I hear these executives say that, AI is going to replace all these people and you're going to run companies with computers, it sort of infuriates me, because computers are not humans, and humans bring a unique decision-making capability to the table. So what's sort of your view when you hear these companies talking about removing humans and basically running companies just on AI?
Yeah, so I've been using AI in a corporate setting since 2007. MetLife, we used IBM Watson. So think of it as a first version of ChatGPT, right? So I've got years of experience with it. I teach with it, and I can tell you that right now, with the advisement that I'm doing and the role that I'm moving to, I am going to be using AI in such a way where it is humanless, autonomous, and I'm going to need less staff, because I'm going to put more AI in to defend the company. And so I think to your earlier point, you still need a human that understands technology really well, that understands architecture, that understands that AI is an amazing new set of solutions, but you have to have a great data background. You have to know how to prompt really well. You have to understand infrastructure tokenization, right? Because you can't blow through just talking to it every day and loading it up with terabytes of data, and all of a sudden you get a huge infrastructure bill. What the hell happened? So, I think this is an era like the internet boom. There is so much opportunity. So my take on it is learn it fast, get good mentors, get training. Do you need a certification? I personally, not really. You need that life experience, right? Yeah. So I think where I have been successful is my career started off in data, then architecture, then it moved into deep technology, like CTO level technology, CIO owning all of security, and now a CISO. But that 25 years of experience has helped me understand how to use it really well. And I think training is important, and taking risk with using it. Knowing how to put the guardrails in place to protect the company, knowing how to use the technology, and it's changing so fast. Microsoft's changing so fast. AWS is changing so fast. Like, I tell my students, once you graduate with your cybersecurity degree, you don't start learning. You are always learning. You are always doing something new. So if you think your book's closed and you don't, yay, I got 4 years underneath my belt. Or I work with some really good people who don't have a degree. They push themselves. They have certifications. They're super technical. Awesome, right? But it's changing so fast, Eric, that you have to put time aside to keep up with it. That's how fast it's changing.
It's so true. And Mary, I'm sure you're like me, where friends joke with me, I don't watch TV. Because what do you do at night? And I'm like, I'm reading and studying. They're like, don't you know everything? I'm like, oh, I know nothing, right? It's like there's so much to learn. You got to constantly, life is a constant learning, especially in cybersecurity and AI. You got to keep pushing the envelope forward. And I guess the question is it still correct, to position yourself as a cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity person? Or do you need to start throwing AI into the title? Like, if you're going out there on resume or promoting jobs or trying to get a promotion, should you say I'm cybersecurity professional, I'm a CISO, or should you say I'm a cybersecurity professional that uses AI? Should AI be in the title, or is it just a tool that you should have experience with?
I think depending on the industry, right? I think it's both.
Okay.
And some industries are putting it in everyone's title. I think the role of a CIO is dying. I think AI is changing so much so fast that titles between now and the next 2 years, you're going to see a lot of AI in titles. But certain industries still like to have the big C words behind everybody's name. I chased the C word for a long time. And now, my success is I learned it early in my career and worked with different companies like Darktrace, great company. I had Darktrace under my mandate in multiple companies, great team, think of NSA, in Israel, guys that came out and built that company. But they have over 1,000 models to protect your ecosystem. Fantastic company to work with, right? So, and they partnered last year with Microsoft to enhance the Copilot security model within Microsoft. So titles, yes, I think you're going to see a lot more. What's more important and who I would hire is, especially, students just graduating, the internships. They took on more than just courses, right? Yeah. They stretched themselves. They got some certifications, and universities need to catch up with that. Certain certifications I think you should just automatically get with a cyber degree, and that should be part of your course curriculum. But internships, getting yourself trained, doing a project, and flip side, if you're a CISO right now, but you're using no AI, I don't know how you got to get trained up.
Yeah.
Because it's just changing that fast. So
Now, in terms of certifications, there's sort of like the top one is usually like CISSP, but I sort of tell folks to start off with like Security Plus is probably the starting point because you need experience. Is that sort of a good recommendation, or what would be your sort of certification career path of somebody of like what are the top 3 certs they should get in which order?
I think the best one, and people will argue this with me, ethical hacking.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice curveball. I didn't see that coming, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
and I'll tell you why. The role today. So if I think about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you think about a traditional CISO, the bigger the company, you have a CISO who might report to a risk officer, and they're going to worry about policies, regulations, and monitoring oversight of security operations for the company. Okay. And the operations sometimes sit in a CIO, CTO role. Smaller companies, it's all encompassing, right? So depending on the role of a CISO, it really depends on the company you work for. Okay. Now, why did I pick ethical hacking? Because I don't care if you're the risk person reporting to the board or, a CEO or a chief risk officer, or you're in the trenches, combating it every single day. You have to be technical. You have to know how the bad guys are attacking, right? Yeah. And if you understand that and you know how the dark web works and what's exposed on the dark web, and you understand vulnerability management, how important it is, and you understand least privileged access and having FIDO2 as the forefront of password list for a company, like you need to know that in order to combat it. And the game has changed. Yep. Okay, from last year to this year, the amount of AI bots, agentic AI, a large language model is now being used to attack. You have to be technical. You have to know how to protect, and you have to learn agentic AI so you can put in continuous pen testing and use agentic AI to do that, not a human, right? You got to get smarter. And so my choice of certifications and who I would hire would be those with an ethical hacking background.
No, great answer. And that's why I love having you on the show, because it wasn't what I expected. But when you said it, I'm like, you are spot on, because one of my things I always tell people is offense must inform defense. Yeah. Like I like working in defense because I've done offense. Offense is easy. You can always break in. It's sort of the funner part of it. But to me, the defense is where the work's at. But if you don't understand the offense, you can't build a proper defense. Yeah. There's a reason why the risk formula starts with threats and then vulnerabilities, not the other way around. Exactly. So I think you're spot on. That's really good advice. So one other question I want to ask you is sort of take you back, because a lot of people listening to the show are security professionals. They've been doing it 3 to 5 years in different areas, and they want to sort of cross over to become a CISO, but they sort of feel trapped in the technical track, like because they like the forensics, they like the incident response, they like the technical components of it, but we know that if you're too technical, you're not going to make a good CISO. What's sort of the steps you recommend if somebody wants to start transitioning from a pure technical career track to more strategic career track of a CISO?
So the strategic side is going to be all about understanding how to be, you're going to get audited, so you have to understand audits by third parties. You have to have a strong writing skill, so you have to create a strategy. You're going to have to understand what KPIs and KRIs are. You're going to need a lot of just great PowerPoint skills, because you're going to be creating presentations for executives, the board, risk committees. Regulations are key. Having even a law background and of some law training, right? Because that's going to be important to understanding all the state laws, federal regulations, the industry you're in, how you're governed, how you will be potentially audited by a state. So that's where a lot of the CISO level work comes in, right? And depending again on the industry, you might own operations on top of that, right? So when people came to me and said, I want to be a CISO, and I laid out the day in the life of a CISO with all the paperwork and all the management and all the oversight and creating, benchmarks on, how much of your technology stack and your operations meet NIST and or COBIT or whatever you're using, right? So they look at me and glaze over and be like, I don't want to do that job. But they look at it honestly, when I get to the guts of it, the last 15 years, it's money. They're chasing money. And I tell them, you're worth more money if you stay on this technical track, do the ethical hacking, get into pen testing, like get yourself supercharged with AI. But if you want to do the paperwork and the regulations and the legal aspects and the compliance aspects, go for it. But that's something that you're going to have to now to retrain yourself to do that. So where do you want to spend your time, right? Yep. So I think most of the people I've talked to stay on the technical track.
Yeah. No, I think that's very well said because everyone's CISO sort of has that nice title. They want to have the chief officer. But I've had the same experience where I've had people come and they like, can we mirror you for a day or two?
Yeah.
And just follow you around. And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
And by day 2, they're like, when are you going to start doing CISO stuff? And I'm like, that's what I've been doing. They're like, no, you've been doing executive briefings, paperwork, firefightings. Yeah. When do we get to do the fun stuff? I'm like, oh, that's the technical side, right? The CISO side, they forget it's a lot of politics and business and meetings and interactions and all that factor. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we sort of redefine the roles where, yes, company needs CISOs, but I think we need more chief scientists and really brilliant folks. And I think that's sort of where we've done a disservice in the industry is most people think when you get advanced in cybersecurity, the only way to continue is to move to a CISO. But I believe you can make a lot of money staying on that technical career track as a fellow, as a chief scientist, and just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so there's definitely an opportunity to work. When I think about answering your question on data science within cybersecurity, it's critical. And if you're a CISO, and like I am and was in my past careers, you're dealing with a lot of solutions. If you're using Palo Altos for the firewall, there's log files you have to pull into your SIM. If you're using Proofpoint for email protection, you have all these tools and solutions and data you have to figure out and move to a SIM for the SOC to manage, right? That's all data, right? So some of the best CISOs I know have a data background, and they spend time operationally, if that's part of their job, to make sure that data is accurate. If it's not accurate, your alerts aren't accurate, and you're going to miss a real threat, right? So critical. I would love universities to take it more serious and train cybersecurity within the major with data science. Companies don't invest enough in it, and now you can use large language models, and you can pull one down, and you can do predictive analytics off your own data. So I think it's not an emerging role. It's a role that's always been there. I think it's much more visible now due to the complexity of type of attacks. And, companies like JP Morgan, they take it very serious. They have, Jamie Dimon will publicly, he has spoken, and he said, look, I spend billions on cybersecurity, right? And a lot of it and what they're doing is around data and analytics and making sure they don't miss a threat.
And I think you're spot on. And it's funny, everyone, when we talk about cybersecurity, they forget the CIA triad.
Yeah.
Confidentiality, integrity, availability. Everyone thinks, oh, it's confidentiality. Like when I go in and hear people, oh, we're still, why are we talking about passwords, right? Passwords has nothing to do with it. What we should be talking about is data, protection, and preservation.
Yep.
Because I don't know about you, if somebody got into my bank account, not a big deal. If somebody changed my bank account, well, if they add to it, I'd be okay. But if they took away from it, it's a problem. Or if they deleted it, that would be a problem.
Right.
So I feel like we're getting to the age where, like last year with some of the cloud providers going down, we saw availability. But yeah, I think this year is really about the integrity, because you're right. We hear with AI models, if they don't know the whole hallucination where they're making up false information,
Yeah.
data accuracy and integrity, to me, is really going to be the name of the game, because there's so much data out there. And like you bring in deepfakes and others, how do you know truth from fiction?
Yeah.
And I guess I'll sort of throw that out to you. How do we navigate this world where there's so much information out there where you could have two videos of me? They look exactly the same. One is me and one isn't. And they're saying two different things. How do we navigate this space where there's just so much false information and false data out there and really get to the truth?
Yeah, so deepfake is it's happening right now, and companies are losing money. Right? It's the new phishing lure. Deepfake is what's happening to companies today. So what do? You know, on my teams, I want the best pen tester. I want the person who has years of experience, been technical, super technical, engineering, knows how to pen test. Pen testers are going to look for gaps and holes within your company. I want the best threat hunter. Okay, not somebody that's going to read Flashpoint and get me the Wall Street Journal news. I want somebody who's deep into the dark web. I want them to tell me, based upon my industry I'm in, who's been attacked, how they've been attacked. I want them as malware experts. I want them looking in, you know, the types of hits that are happening inside or outside the company or potentially inside the company. I want them hunting all day. So I think it's talent. I think the person who's running cybersecurity for the company, it's a crazy position. It is 24/7. It's 7 days a week. There is no sleep, right? If you take on that role, to be on alert, right, for something that could take down a company. So I think it's about the talent and how much time you spend on the talent and how much time you spend combing through your ecosystem and constantly changing configurations, doing your upgrades, doing your patching. It is all the time, right? Yeah. And I tell my students, you know, I make them research some of the biggest breaches out there. And I know the companies that were breached. If I think about like Petya, WannaCry, not Petya, right? That 2016, you know, up until 2017, up to 2019, and then we had SolarWinds 2020. When I think about the companies, and I knew the CIOs and CISOs that were breached, their backgrounds were not technical.
I know.
Okay, so I tell my students, and I tell people who call me and be like, I want to be you. No, you don't. Like, you really don't. Right? But, you know, there could be the nice, cushy, and I'm sorry to say that, CISO roles reporting to a risk officer, and they're looking in and collecting like, well, why do you have so many vulnerabilities and you haven't patched, right? They're not in the trenches, right? And if you're in the trenches, you have to have the guts for it. And you have to be on all the time, training yourself all the time. And now you have to have an artificial intelligence background to protect from those deep fakes, to protect from all the junk that's in social media, right? One of the biggest attack vectors right now is LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got to be quiet. You got to be careful. Yeah. You got to know that, you know, it's the game changed from worrying about opening an email and training people on, you know, phishing training. The game's over with that. It's more sophisticated now.
Yeah. No, I'll just add to this. What people say is, no, they're absolutely correct. They do want to be you, but they don't want to do the work that you did to become you. Yeah. Right. That's, I think, the piece they miss is because, yeah, if they could just drop in and become Mary, you're an amazing person. That would be an amazing life. But they don't realize what you had to do to get there and what you do on a regular basis to maintain it, I think, is the part that people don't appreciate. And yeah, I'm with you on the 24/7. One of my pet peeves, and it just happened the other day, is I pretty much work around the clock, and I just sent like a quick text message on a Sunday evening to just like ask somebody a question. Hey, can you just give me a quick answer? It would have literally took them like 5 seconds to give me the answer. But instead, they go back and go, it's a Sunday. I'm spending time with my family. I don't work. I will get back to you at an appropriate time. And I'm just like, okay, that's not going to fly, right? Yes, family life balance, but I don't need a lecture.
Yeah.
You could have gave me the answer quicker than giving me that lecture. If you were at dinner with your family, great, wait 10 minutes. But everybody has time throughout the week and the weekends, even on Saturdays and Sundays, to reply or do a quick text. Because what we don't realize is attackers don't sleep.
Yeah.
Attackers don't stop. So if we're working 9 to 5 and they're working 24/7, we're going to get our butts kicked.
Yeah.
And that's sort of one of the reasons why we see that happening. So sort of talking about that, sort of like right now, I mean, it sort of seems like we're sort of, the scoreboard doesn't look good because with the attackers and the AI happening so much, there's so many breaches, it almost seems out of control. Where do you see sort of the next 5 years or the future going? Is it one where it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better? Or do you think we're going to start turning the tide and start getting a handle on this? Sort of what, looking into your crystal ball, because I know you've been doing this for a while and you're really good at sort of predicting where things are going. Where do you see things going over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think AI is going to, it's just, it works faster than a human. And now that it's weaponized, the software companies are catching up to do the upgrades, push the patches out, right? The number of vulnerabilities is just going to get extraordinary. And so I think to combat it, every company has to think about their operations differently. You're going to want the best technical person in charge of your networks, your email, everything, right? And with an AI background, right? I think the shift of titles and roles are going to happen because of the amount of attacks that's going to hit companies. And now you have to think about companies that's on very old tech. There's companies running right now on vSAM, IMS, COBOL, like just old stuff that should have been upgraded and they never did. And now that type of, those companies aren't going to survive. They're just not, AI, when you think about how ransomware and malware is created, the code behind it, AI now can think, and we call this polymorphism. It's going to, AI is going to take one malware variant and combine 5 together. Okay, and you think of like how WannaCry, Petya, not Petya, when you think about some of the damage it did inside a company's network, Merck, other, you have to have the best talent to defend against these variants that are going to be hitting, because it's going to come faster, and your vendors, even though they're great, love them all, they're not going to be able to keep up. So
the landscape's going to change.
Yeah,
and I'm sure, because I think we're similar age. I think you'll get this reference, but I tell people we have a lot of blockbuster video cybersecurity companies out there that are not going to be around in 2 to 3 years. And the reference, because you remember Blockbuster, everyone, they're not going away, and then Netflix basically destroyed them. And I think we're at that stage now. We have a lot of cybersecurity companies that are like, oh no, we're still good, we're fine, and they're not keeping up. And I think you're going to see a huge shift in that landscape of new vendors coming in that embrace and understand the AI. And then just sort of the last question, because what you said I think is really important one. It sounds like security teams today, the really good ones, you're going to have a few administrators, like a few operators, but really the core of the team are going to be threat hunters that are actively looking for threats. Did I get that correct? And can you expand on that a little bit?
That's what I'm doing, right? I think you need really good threat hunters, and their backgrounds are extraordinary. They're a combination of engineers, pen testers, grew up with the tech, trainable, and they're both understanding what surface level attacks mean versus dark web and how they're formed, right? And they're using all sorts of tools, knowledge, information coming from all different aspects of, solutions to being able to understand technically how to be on the dark web, and know that your company's already exposed, or know that, passwords are for sale in ransomware forums, right? So I would put more accountability in hiring those folks.
Yes.
Yeah, because today you can use if you design your core infrastructure, your devices, you can remove the humans from patching and use more agentic AI automation to do that work, and then you put the intelligence and bring those other people in, right? So you don't need as many people today. You need to really lock down your core technology stack, and have the right people constantly creating now, I think, agentic AI capabilities, so you can set up pen testing continuously for X application, or looking for drift within your cloud, right? So I would put more bank and dollars behind those people.
No, I think that's very well said. And it's one of those where I'm always shocked, because I'm like, I can't believe we're at the end of our time, because we could go on for another couple of hours. And I'm hoping you'd be willing to come back on the show at a later time, because we have so much to talk about. 100%. But the way I always like to leave it is sort of, what are the final words you'd like to leave with the listeners, final advice, or ways they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So, LinkedIn, definitely you can get in touch with me. But my advice right now is build your community of people, have your own network, right? So when I think about 2016 and Petya starting, and then going to WannaCry and not Petya, I had a small team of really good cybersecurity operations that I'm on communications with globally. And you need a small network to trust, to say, is this happening to you? What are you hearing? That's really critical, and I've had it for 20 years. Some of the best technical engineers and cybersecurity professionals. So you need that network. Number two, never stop training yourself. MIT has wonderful free courses. I spent 20 years taking them. Courseware, MIT. I'm watching professors, students are paying, $60,000 a year to go to school there. So train yourself, wake up early, hit those MIT coursewares, and start learning as fast as you can AI, and go get that ethical hacking certification.
I love that. Never stop learning. Never stop learning. Great advice. Mary, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and best of luck in your future endeavors. And like I said, I hope we can connect again in the future and keep talking, because this was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And once again, you're listening to Life of a CISO. So much action to take from this. So listen to this multiple times. Lots of great nuggets of gold. Never stop learning, threat hunting, and certifications matter. And maybe look at ethical hacking as sort of a way to mix up your resume to differentiate you from others that are out there. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.